The ultimatum. In the vastness of space, a great council convened. The Galactic Council was a powerful assembly, representing many alien races. They met in a massive, shining chamber on their flagship, the Argentum. This ship was a symbol of their authority, gleaming like a star against the darkness of space. The leaders of various races sat at a round table, their eyes fixed on a holographic projection of a small planet, Earth. At the head of the table sat Chancellor Vartok, a tall being with shimmering skin that changed colors with his emotions. He was known for his shrewd mind and decisive actions. He looked around at the other council members, his expression serious. "It is time to address the Terran Empire," he declared. "Their defiance has gone on long enough." The council members murmured in agreement, their voices blending into a chorus of concern and determination. They had watched as the Terrans grew stronger, their technology advancing at an astonishing rate. The Terrans had begun to explore space, establishing colonies and forging alliances. It was clear they were not going to bow down easily. "We cannot allow this to continue," said General Zixor, a fierce warrior from the Drakari race. "If we do not act now, they will become a threat to us all." His yellow eyes glowed with intensity as he spoke. The others nodded, realizing the truth in his words. Chancellor Vartok raised a hand to silence the room. "I propose we send them an ultimatum. They must comply with our laws and regulations, or face the consequences." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "We must show them the might of the Galactic Council." The other members exchanged glances, weighing their options. Finally, they agreed. A draft was created, outlining the terms the Terran Empire had to follow. The ultimatum demanded that the Terrans cease all exploration outside their home system and submit to the Council's authority. Failure to comply within 30 days would result in severe repercussions. As the ultimatum was finalized, the Council members felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. They believed the Terrans would submit quickly. After all, they were just a young race in a vast galaxy. They thought their threats would be enough to bring the humans to heel. Meanwhile, on Earth, the news of the ultimatum reached Commander Sarah Mitchell. She was a leader in the Terran military and had dedicated her life to protecting her people. The message arrived at her command center, a sleek and high-tech facility nestled in the mountains. The holographic display showed the ultimatum in bold letters, and Sarah's heart sank. "What do they think they're doing?" she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. The council's arrogance was staggering. She gathered her top advisors around the table, the tension palpable in the air. As they reviewed the ultimatum, a sense of anger rose among her team. "They expect us to just bow down," Lieutenant Tom Harris said, slamming his fist on the table. "They don't understand who we are." Sarah nodded, her mind racing. "This is not just about submission. It's about our right to exist and explore our universe. We cannot allow them to dictate our future." Her words ignited a spark of determination in her advisors. "Then what should we do?" asked Dr. Emily Chen, the team's chief scientist. "If we refuse, they could retaliate with force." She looked worried, knowing how powerful the council was. Sarah took a deep breath. "We must respond, but not with fear. We need to show them that humanity is not to be underestimated. We will not submit to their threats." The room fell silent as everyone considered her words. They all knew that the Terran Empire was still finding its place in the galaxy, but they had to stand strong. "We could organize a display of our strength," suggested Captain Leo Smith. "A show of force to let them know we're not afraid." Sarah's eyes lit up. "That's a brilliant idea. We will gather our fleet and demonstrate our capabilities. The Council needs to see that we will fight for our freedom." The team agreed, their spirits lifting as they discussed plans. They knew they had to be smart about their response. They would prepare their ships, train their crews, and ensure that they were ready for whatever came next. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Chancellor Vartok felt confident that their ultimatum would bring the Terrans to their knees. The Council had always maintained control over the galaxy's powerful races, and they saw no reason why humans would be any different. Days passed, and as the deadline loomed closer, the atmosphere in both the Council and the Terran command grew tense. The Council members prepared for the Terrans' inevitable submission, while Sarah and her team trained relentlessly, ready to defend their world. The Galactic Council's arrogance blinded them to the strength and spirit of humanity. They believed they had set the stage for victory, but they had underestimated the resolve of a species that had survived countless challenges. As the deadline approached, the galaxy held its breath, unaware that a storm was brewing, one that would change the course of history forever. The stage was set, and soon the echoes of defiance would resonate throughout the galaxy, heralding the dawn of a new era, the gathering storm. As the sun rose over Earth, its light glinted off the sleek surfaces of the Terran ships lined up in formation. Commander Sarah Mitchell stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valor, a formidable battle cruiser, her gaze fixed on the view screen. The images of the ships filled her with a mixture of pride and determination. Each vessel was a testament to human ingenuity and resilience, equipped with the latest technology, and manned by courageous crews. Status report. Sarah called, her voice steady and authoritative. Her crew sprang into action, checking systems and relaying information. Commander, all ships are ready for the demonstration, replied Lieutenant Tom Harris, his fingers dancing over the control panel. We have fully charged weapon systems, and the crew is on high alert. Good. We need to make sure the Galactic Council knows we won't be intimidated. Prepare for the maneuvering drills, Sarah ordered. As the crew responded with nods, Sarah felt the weight of their situation press heavily on her shoulders. They were preparing to face an assembly of the galaxy's most powerful beings, and she could sense the tension among her officers. Meanwhile, on the Argentum, the Galactic Council members were in a state of eager anticipation. Chancellor Vartok paced the room, his colorful skin shifting shades with his emotions. They must be trembling in fear, he said, his voice dripping with confidence. They will see the futility of resistance. General Zixer leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowed in thought. We should prepare our fleet as well. The Terrans may try something unexpected. It would be wise to remain vigilant. The council members nodded in agreement, but Vartok dismissed the notion. No, let them act. Their weakness will soon be on display for all to see. His arrogance hung in the air like a thick fog, blinding him to the determination brewing within the Terran Empire. Back on Earth, Sarah gathered her team for a final briefing. They were all aware of the stakes. The ultimatum had been sent, and now the Council was watching. This demonstration would be crucial, not just for the Council, but for the future of humanity. We will begin with a series of maneuvers to showcase our tactical capabilities, she explained. Then we'll perform a synchronized fire display to demonstrate our firepower. The goal is to send a clear message. We are not to be underestimated. Her officers nodded, and she could see their resolve hardening. They understood the importance of this moment. Sarah smiled, feeling the camaraderie that had developed among them over the years. As the ships moved into formation, Sarah glanced at the view screen, where the stars twinkled brightly against the black canvas of space. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless wonders, but it was also filled with dangers. The Terrans had fought hard to carve out their place, and they would not let the Galactic Council push them around. On my mark, we will begin the demonstration, Sarah said, her heart racing with anticipation. Let's show them what humanity is made of. In unison, the crew shouted, "For Earth." The passion in their voices sent a thrill down her spine. As the countdown began, the ships surged forward, their engines roaring to life. The U.S. Valor led the fleet, gliding through space with grace and precision. The demonstration commenced with a series of rapid maneuvers, showcasing the agility of their ships. They weaved in and out of formation, executing turns and rolls that left even the most seasoned pilots impressed. Now for the fire display, Sarah commanded, her heart pounding with excitement. On my mark. 3, 2, 1, fire. Bright beams of energy shot forth from the ships, lighting up the darkness like fireworks in a night sky. Each burst of energy illuminated the surrounding space, creating a dazzling show that showcased their advanced technology. As the brilliant colors swirled and danced, Sarah felt a surge of pride. This was not just a demonstration of firepower, it was a declaration of their strength and resolve. She hoped the Galactic Council was watching, but deep down, she knew they would underestimate the significance of this display. Back on the Argentum, the Council members watched in shock and disbelief. The sheer scale of the Terran demonstration was unlike anything they had anticipated. They are more capable than we thought, murmured one council member, a hint of fear creeping into his voice. Chancellor Vartok clenched his fists, his confident facade cracking. They think they can intimidate us with their theatrics. We must respond decisively. The tension in the chamber grew thick as the council members exchanged worried glances. General Zixer's voice cut through the silence. We must remind them of our power. We cannot let this display go unanswered. As the last bursts of energy faded into the blackness of space, Sarah and her team celebrated their successful demonstration. The morale on the bridge was high, but Sarah remained focused. They had made their point, but the real challenge lay ahead. The Galactic Council would not take their defiance lightly. Prepare for any incoming messages from the Council, she instructed, her tone serious. They will respond, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next. The crew quickly turned their attention to the communication systems, the air filled with a mix of excitement and anxiety. They had sent their message loud and clear, but the question remained, would the Council retaliate, or would they recognize humanity's strength? As the minutes ticked by, the atmosphere grew tense. Sarah glanced at the view screen, where Earth slowly spun below them, a small blue gem in the vastness of space. She felt a sense of responsibility wash over her. Her people were counting on her to lead them through this storm. Suddenly, a communication channel opened, and Chancellor Vartok's hologram materialized before them, his expression a mix of anger and determination. Terran Empire, you have made a grave mistake. The Galactic Council will not tolerate your defiance. As Sarah stared at the hologram, she felt her heart race. The storm was indeed gathering, and humanity was ready to face it head-on. They had stood firm, and now it was time to prepare for the battle that lay ahead. Let them come, she said quietly, her resolve unwavering. Humanity would not back down. They would fight for their place in the stars, and they would do so with every ounce of strength they had. The battle for their future had just begun. A clash of powers. The tension in the U.S. valor was palpable as the holographic image of Chancellor Vartok flickered in front of Sarah Mitchell and her crew. His presence filled the bridge, radiating arrogance and anger. The council members behind him murmured among themselves, their expressions a mix of disdain and curiosity. Your little show of force has not impressed us, Terrans, Vartok declared, his voice echoing through the command center. You misunderstand the nature of our ultimatum. You have two options, surrender or face complete annihilation. Annihilation. Sarah's voice remained steady, betraying none of the fear she felt inside. Is that really how the Galactic Council chooses to address peaceful negotiations? You've made your choice clear, Chancellor, and we will respond accordingly. Vartok's eyes narrowed, a flash of irritation crossing his face. You will regret this defiance, Commander. The Council has resources and power beyond your comprehension. We have the means to wipe your species from existence. You will be nothing more than a footnote in the history of the galaxy. With a swift motion, Vartok cut the transmission, leaving the crew in stunned silence. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Commander, what's our next move? Lieutenant Tom Harris asked, concern etched on his face. Sarah took a deep breath, her mind racing. We need to prepare for an imminent attack. Inform the fleet to be on high alert. Set up defensive formations and ready all weapon systems. Yes, Mom. Tom responded, springing into action. The crew quickly returned to their tasks, the atmosphere shifting from celebration to focused determination. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council convened in their chamber, where Vartok slammed his fist on the table in frustration. These Terrans have dared to defy us. We cannot allow this to go unpunished. They must learn their place in the galaxy. General Zixer nodded gravely. We should deploy our battle fleet immediately. A show of force will make them understand the consequences of their actions. Agreed, Vartok replied, a cruel smile forming on his lips. Let's send a message they won't forget. Back aboard the U.S. Valor, Sarah was meticulously planning their response. She gathered her senior officers in the war room. We must anticipate their moves. They will attack, and we need to be prepared. What are the projections for their fleet strength? Tom inquired, his brow furrowed with concern. Intelligence suggests they'll send a sizable force, Sarah replied. But we have the advantage of knowing our home territory better. We can use the terrain to our advantage and set traps along their likely approach routes. As Sarah spoke, a sense of determination swept over the crew. The room was filled with a fervent spirit, a shared understanding that they were all in this together. Humanity had fought for centuries to protect their world, and they would not let the Galactic Council tear it apart. Let's prepare for a defensive maneuver, Sarah continued. We'll position ourselves near the asteroid belt, where we can use the asteroids for cover and create obstacles for their ships. If they think they can easily take Earth, they are sorely mistaken. Hours passed, and the crew worked tirelessly, their resolve growing stronger with each passing moment. Finally, the moment arrived. Alarms blared across the ship, and the view screen displayed an incoming fleet of warships. "They're here," shouted one of the crew members, his voice tinged with both fear and excitement. "Battle stations," Sarah commanded, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "All hands, prepare for combat." The crew moved with precision, each member falling into their designated roles as they braced for the inevitable clash. Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself as she prepared for the fight of their lives. As the enemy fleet emerged from hyperspace, a sea of formidable warships loomed on the view screen, their dark hulls casting ominous shadows across the stars. "Open a communication line," Sarah ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Let's show them we're not afraid." The screen flickered to life, and Vartok's holographic image appeared once again. His expression was one of surprise, quickly replaced by disdain. "You still resist, Terran. This is foolishness. Your end is at hand. You don't know humanity very well, Chancellor," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "We thrive in adversity. We will not be so easily intimidated. Then prepare to be annihilated." Vartok snarled, and with that, the transmission ended. "Fire when ready," Sarah commanded, her heart racing. The U.S. Valor unleashed a barrage of laser fire toward the approaching enemy ships, the beams illuminating the darkness of space. Explosions erupted as enemy ships took direct hits, but the battle had just begun. The Council's fleet retaliated, and chaos ensued. The crew of the U.S. Valor fought valiantly, maneuvering their ship through the chaos of the battlefield. Sarah barked orders as they dodged incoming fire and returned fire in bursts of bright energy. "Deploy the asteroid plan," she shouted, leading her crew into the depths of the asteroid belt. The asteroids provided cover, but they also created a treacherous battlefield for both sides. As they weaved through the dense field of rocks, Sarah marveled at the quick thinking of her crew. The maneuvering was precise, and they managed to outsmart several enemy vessels, causing them to collide with asteroids. "Target their engines," Sarah commanded, and the U.S. Valor unleashed another barrage of fire aimed directly at the enemy's propulsion systems. One ship after another began to sputter and drift helplessly, leaving only a few to continue the fight. But the Galactic Council was relentless. New ships poured in from hyperspace, their sheer numbers a testament to their resolve. Sarah could feel the pressure mounting as her crew fought valiantly, but fatigue was beginning to set in. "Commander, we need to retreat and regroup," Tom shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. "No," Sarah replied firmly. "We stand our ground. This is our home, and we will fight for it." The battle raged on, and with every passing moment, it became clear that the Terrans were not backing down. They were fighting with everything they had, fueled by a fierce determination to protect their planet and their future. As Sarah prepared for another onslaught, she realized that this clash was more than just a battle. It was a defining moment for humanity. They were not merely fighting for survival. They were declaring their right to exist among the stars. And as the sounds of conflict echoed around her, she knew that humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would rise, they would fight, and they would prevail. The Galactic Council would learn that humanity's spirit was unbreakable, and their resolve was forged in the fires of conflict. "Let's show them what we're made of," Sarah shouted, rallying her crew for one last push. The U.S. Valor surged forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would redefine their place in the galaxy. The turning tide. The battle raged on in the vastness of space, a cacophony of explosions and laser fire illuminating the dark void. The U.S. Valor weaved through the asteroid belt with unparalleled precision, using the chaotic terrain to their advantage. Sarah Mitchell stood at the helm, adrenaline pumping through her veins as she commanded her crew. "Target the nearest enemy ship and fire," Sarah shouted, her voice rising above the din of the battle. The crew worked in perfect synchrony, hands moving with practiced efficiency. As their lasers struck true, the enemy ship erupted in a brilliant explosion, sending debris scattering through the blackness. The sight filled the crew with a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that they were fighting for their home and their lives. "Commander, we've received a distress signal from the U.S. Artemis," Tom reported, his brow furrowed with concern. "They're surrounded and taking heavy fire." "Patch it through," Sarah commanded, her heart racing. The view screen flickered, revealing the desperate situation unfolding aboard the U.S. Artemis. Smoke filled the bridge, and the crew struggled to maintain control. "Sarah, we need help. We're surrounded." Commander Jameson's voice crackled through the static, desperation evident in his tone. "We can't hold them off much longer." "We're coming," Sarah replied, determination hardening her resolve. "Hold on, Artemis. We're on our way." "Prepare to flank their position," Sarah ordered, her mind racing with possibilities. "Tom, navigate through the asteroids and let's catch them off guard." The crew sprang into action, maneuvering the U.S. Valor with agility as they closed in on the U.S. Artemis. The enemy had not anticipated a counterattack from this angle. With careful precision, they approached the beleaguered ship. As they emerged from the asteroid field, the scene was dire. The U.S. Artemis was surrounded by 3 enemy vessels, each firing relentlessly. Sarah's heart ached at the sight of her comrades in danger. "Now, open fire," she commanded. The U.S. Valor unleashed a torrent of laser fire, targeting the ship closest to the U.S. Artemis. The enemy was caught off guard, and chaos erupted among their ranks. The U.S. Artemis immediately took advantage of the confusion, returning fire with renewed vigor. Together, the 2 Terran ships fought valiantly, their coordinated attack breaking the enemy's formation. "Great job, Artemis. We're here for you." Sarah cheered through the comms, her spirits soaring as they fought side by side. In the heat of battle, the tide began to turn. With their combined firepower, the Terran fleet pushed back against the Galactic Council's forces. Ships that had once seemed invincible now faltered under the relentless assault. But Vartok was not one to be easily deterred. He watched the unfolding chaos from the command ship, his anger boiling beneath the surface. "They cannot win," he roared, rallying his remaining fleet commanders. "Reinforce our attack. Show them the strength of the Galactic Council." As the order was given, reinforcements began to flood the battlefield, bolstering the enemy's numbers. The Terrans had gained ground, that the Council's sheer might threatened to overwhelm them once more. "Commander, more enemy ships are incoming," Tom shouted, his voice tinged with urgency. "Hold the line," Sarah commanded, her focus unwavering. "We can't back down now. We've come too far." But as the enemy fleet swelled, Sarah could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on her. They needed a strategy, something to turn the tide permanently in their favor. "Let's set up a trap," she proposed, her mind racing. "We'll lure them into the asteroid field and use the terrain to isolate their ships." Tom's eyes lit up with understanding. "If we can funnel them into a narrow passage, we could destroy them one by one." "Exactly. Let's pull back just a bit and create the illusion of retreat," Sarah instructed, her heart pounding. "They'll follow us right into our trap." The crew executed the maneuver flawlessly, drawing the enemy in as the U.S. Valor and U.S. Artemis feigned retreat. The Council's ships pursued, eager to take down the Terran vessels. As they approached the narrow passage between two massive asteroids, Sarah's heart raced. "Now, cut the engines and prepare to fire." The U.S. Valor and U.S. Artemis came to a sudden halt, allowing the enemy to barrel into the passageway. The Galactic Council's ships, unable to maneuver in the confined space, became sitting ducks. "Fire," Sarah commanded, and both ships unleashed a devastating volley of fire. Explosions erupted as their lasers tore through the enemy ships, creating a spectacular display of destruction. The first ship fell, its debris scattering among the asteroids, and the crew erupted in cheers. But Sarah knew they couldn't let up. "Keep firing. Don't give them a chance to regroup," she urged, adrenaline surging through her veins. The U.S. Valor and U.S. Artemis continued to rain destruction down upon the trapped enemy vessels. The tide of battle had indeed turned, and the Galactic Council's confidence began to waver. "Commander, we're breaking their lines," Tom exclaimed, a wide smile breaking across his face. "They're in disarray. Push forward. We can't stop now," Sarah urged, her determination burning bright. They would fight until the end. As the battle raged on, Vartok's anger boiled over. "This cannot be happening. We must crush them. Reinforcements. Send in the entire fleet," he roared, his frustration evident. But the Terran crew was resolute. They had found their rhythm, and their unity fueled their fight. The remaining enemy ships began to falter, unable to withstand the relentless assault from the Terran forces. With each ship that fell, the morale of the Terrans soared, strengthening their resolve. "Commander, we've taken out over half of their fleet," Tom announced, exhilaration in his voice. "Then let's finish this," Sarah shouted, her voice ringing with fierce determination. They had faced insurmountable odds, and now it was their moment to show the galaxy the strength of humanity. The U.S. Valor and U.S. Artemis surged forward, their weapons primed for one final push. Together, they fought side by side, determined to send a message that the Terran Empire would not be trifled with. As they charged into the fray, Sarah could feel the spirit of humanity roaring within her. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their right to exist in the cosmos. The Galactic Council would learn that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and they would never back down in the face of tyranny. The tide had turned, and victory was within their grasp. The heart of the storm. The U.S. Valor surged through the remnants of the enemy fleet, her hull vibrating with the intensity of battle. Sarah Mitchell stood at the helm, sweat beading on her brow as she surveyed the chaos unfolding around her. The vacuum of space was filled with the sights and sounds of war. Explosions, the crackle of energy weapons, and the distant cries of crew members over the comms. Each moment felt like an eternity, every heartbeat a reminder of the stakes they faced. "Commander, we've taken out a significant portion of their fleet, but Vartok's flagship remains intact," Tom shouted from the tactical station, his fingers dancing over the control panel as he assessed their options. "They're regrouping for a final assault." "We need to strike at the heart of their command," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil around her. If we can take out Vartok's ship, we might just break their will to fight. Copy that, Commander. We're still in the asteroid field. It will be a tight squeeze, but we can maneuver into position, Tom said, glancing at the navigation screen. Let's do it. Helm, prepare for evasive maneuvers. Tactical, keep the weapons primed. Sarah commanded, her adrenaline pumping. They were at the edge of victory, but the most dangerous part of the battle lay ahead. As the U.S. Valor maneuvered through the asteroids, Sarah's heart raced. She could see Vartok's flagship looming in the distance, a massive, ominous presence among the debris of the fallen ships. Its dark hull was marked by the scars of battle, but it remained defiantly unyielding. "Steady, everyone," Sarah said, her voice calm and commanding. "We've trained for this. We know what to do." Tom quickly calculated their trajectory. "We're almost in range. If we can get a clear shot, we can hit them with everything we've got." "Just a little closer," Sarah urged, gripping the armrests of her chair. Her eyes were locked on the flagship, every instinct telling her that this was their moment. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship, jolting Sarah from her focus. "Incoming fire," Tom yelled, his eyes wide as he watched the enemy's weapons lock onto them. "Evasive maneuvers. Now," Sarah commanded, her heart pounding as she leaned into the controls. The U.S. Valor swerved sharply, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy blasts that illuminated the dark void. The ship trembled as the energy beams grazed their hull, but Sarah pressed forward, determination fueling her every action. "Redirect power to shields," she ordered. "We can't let them break through." "Shields at full capacity, Commander," Tom reported, his focus unwavering. "We're holding." As they continued to navigate through the debris and incoming fire, Sarah's mind raced with strategies. They needed to be smarter, faster, something to outmaneuver Vartok and his forces. "Tom, can we disable their weapons from here?" she asked, searching for any advantage. "Possibly, but we'll need to get within close range to hit their power systems," he replied, glancing at the tactical display. "Then let's make it happen," she urged. "We're going to take the fight to them." With renewed vigor, Sarah piloted the ship into the fray, weaving in and out of enemy fire. The asteroid field provided cover, but it also posed its own dangers. They needed to maintain their focus and avoid getting caught in the crossfire. "Steady, steady," Sarah muttered under her breath, her hands gripping the controls tightly. They were almost in position. "Now," Tom shouted as they emerged from the shadows of the asteroids, locking onto the flagship's power core. "Firing," Sarah yelled, her voice ringing with conviction. The U.S. Valor unleashed a concentrated burst of energy, striking the flagship's power systems with devastating precision. A blinding explosion rocked the enemy ship, and Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline as she watched the damage unfold on the view screen. The flagship faltered, its shields flickering before collapsing entirely. "Direct hit. They're losing power," Tom cheered, a grin spreading across his face. "Now's our chance," Sarah shouted, feeling the tide of battle shift in their favor. "Keep firing. Don't let up." As the crew poured fire into the flagship, the remaining enemy ships began to scatter. Vartok's forces were losing their cohesion, and Sarah could sense the panic among their ranks. The sight was invigorating. "Vartok's flagship is taking heavy damage," Tom announced, eyes wide with excitement. "We can finish this." With relentless determination, the U.S. Valor focused its fire on the heart of Vartok's ship. Explosions erupted from all sides, and Sarah felt a sense of satisfaction wash over her. They had fought hard to reach this moment. But just as victory seemed within reach, a familiar voice echoed through the comms. "You think you can defeat me, Terran? You are foolish to believe so." The voice belonged to Vartok, his tone laced with contempt. The flagship began to stabilize, and the glowing lights of its weapon systems reignited, preparing for one final assault. "Sarah, they're recharging their weapons," Tom warned, his voice urgent. "We need to pull back." Not yet, Sarah shouted, her determination unyielding. We can't give them a moment to regroup. The U.S. Valor surged forward, the crew firing on all cylinders. Sarah's heart raced as she pushed the ship to its limits, their weapons unleashing a barrage of energy toward Vartok's flagship. The explosions lit up the void, and for a moment, it felt like the universe was holding its breath. Then, Vartok's ship trembled, the power flickering as the crew aboard the U.S. Valor watched in awe. Keep firing. This is our moment, Sarah urged, her voice echoing with fervor. They had fought so hard to reach this point, and she refused to let it slip away. But just as victory seemed assured, the flagship unleashed its final assault, a devastating wave of energy aimed directly at the U.S. Valor. Brace for impact, Tom yelled, his voice filled with panic. Sarah's heart sank as she prepared for the worst. In that moment, she knew they had to make a choice, to fight for their lives or to escape into the void of space, and she would choose to fight, no matter the cost. As the energy beam approached, she steered the ship with all her might, determination blazing within her. The crew braced for impact, and she closed her eyes for a heartbeat, ready to face whatever came next. But then, just as it seemed they would be obliterated, a brilliant explosion erupted in front of them, scattering debris and blinding light across the battlefield. The flagship was struck, and Vartok's furious roars echoed through the comms. No, this cannot be. As the light faded, Sarah opened her eyes to see the flagship spiraling out of control, its power systems failing as it succumbed to the onslaught. Did we do it? Tom asked, disbelief written across his face. Look, Sarah exclaimed, her voice filled with awe. The remnants of the flagship began to break apart, drifting helplessly in the void. Victory is ours. She cheered, and the crew erupted into celebration. They had defied the odds, fighting against a force that had sought to crush them. But amidst the cheers, Sarah's heart remained heavy. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. There would be more challenges ahead, and she knew the fight for humanity's survival was just beginning. But for now, they had triumphed. They had proven their strength, and the galaxy would know that humanity was not to be underestimated. They were warriors, defenders of their home, and they would continue to fight for their future, the aftermath. The U.S. Valor drifted slowly through the remnants of the battlefield, a heavy silence falling over the crew. They had achieved a monumental victory, but the sight of the shattered flagship and the debris of the enemy fleet weighed heavily on everyone's hearts. Sarah Mitchell stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the swirling mass of wreckage outside. The stars twinkled brightly in the distance, a stark contrast to the destruction they had just witnessed. It felt surreal that just hours before, the space around them had been filled with chaos and violence. Now the aftermath lay bare, a haunting reminder of what they had fought for. "Commander, we've received a transmission from command," Tom announced, breaking the silence. His voice was steady, but Sarah could sense the tension in the air. "Put it through," she said, her heart racing. The higher-ups would want to hear about their success, but Sarah could not shake the feeling of dread that hung over her. The screen flickered to life, revealing a stern-faced admiral. "Commander Mitchell, congratulations on your victory. The Terran Empire is proud of the U.S. Valor and her crew." "Thank you, Admiral," Sarah replied, her voice firm despite the turmoil within her. "We did what we had to do, but I can't help but think about the cost of this victory." The Admiral's expression softened slightly. "Every battle comes with sacrifices, Commander. Your actions today have shown that humanity will not back down in the face of oppression. The Galactic Council will think twice before challenging us again." "Understood, sir," Sarah said, though her heart felt heavy. She remembered the faces of those who had fought alongside her, those who would never return home. "What are our next orders?" "Return to base for debriefing. We'll need your insights on the battle, and we'll prepare for potential retaliations from Vartok's allies," the Admiral replied, his voice serious. "We must remain vigilant." "Understood, Admiral. U.S. Valor out, Sarah said, cutting the transmission. As she turned to face her crew, she felt a wave of emotions wash over her. They had accomplished something extraordinary, but the celebration felt hollow in light of the destruction they had witnessed. She wanted to acknowledge their victory, but also the loss they had endured. "All right, everyone," she began, her voice steady. "We've just proven to the galaxy that we are a force to be reckoned with, but we also need to remember the cost of our victory. We've lost good men and women today. They fought bravely for our survival." A somber hush fell over the bridge, and Sarah could see the weight of the day's events etched on her crew's faces. "I want to honor their memory. They gave everything to protect our future, and we must carry on their legacy." Tom nodded, his eyes reflecting the seriousness of her words. "We can hold a memorial service for them when we return to base," he suggested. "That's a good idea, Tom," Sarah agreed. "We'll ensure that their bravery is remembered and their sacrifice is not in vain." As they began their journey back to base, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had triumphed against overwhelming odds, and that victory would inspire countless others. She knew that as long as they stood united, they would face any threat together. "Commander, we're receiving a message from one of the surviving ships," Tom said, interrupting her thoughts. "From whom?" Sarah asked, her curiosity piqued. "An Allied cruiser. They're offering to assist us in gathering survivors and cleaning up the battlefield," he replied. "Put them through," she instructed, eager to establish connections with allies in this uncertain time. The screen flickered again, revealing a confident captain with a stern expression. "Commander Mitchell, this is Captain Solera of the SS Resolute. We're glad to see you made it through the battle. Your actions have not gone unnoticed." "Thank you, Captain," Sarah said, appreciating the acknowledgement. "We're fortunate to have allies like you. Any help you can provide would be greatly appreciated." "Absolutely. We've also detected a few enemy ships attempting to regroup nearby. We can assist in intercepting them," Captain Solera said, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Let's coordinate our efforts. We won't allow them to rebuild their forces," Sarah replied, feeling a surge of hope. As they worked together to formulate a plan, Sarah felt a sense of camaraderie building between their crews. They were no longer just individual ships. They were part of something larger. The Terran Empire was strong, and they would stand united against any threat. Hours passed as they coordinated their efforts and prepared for the next phase of their mission. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of urgency that gnawed at her, the thought of the enemy regrouping looming in her mind. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. "Commander, we've received word that Vartok's forces are indeed attempting to regroup," Tom reported. "They're not far from our position. Prepare the U.S. Valor for another engagement. We need to strike while they're vulnerable," Sarah commanded, her resolve firm. "Ready to move on your order, Commander," Tom replied, a fierce determination shining in his eyes. As they approached the coordinates, Sarah felt a mixture of excitement and dread. This could be their chance to eliminate any remaining threats and secure their position in the galaxy. But the cost of such a victory weighed heavily on her heart. "Listen up, everyone," she said, addressing her crew. "We've fought hard to get here, and we cannot let our guard down now. We must remain focused and united." Her crew nodded, their determination palpable. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, and Sarah felt a surge of pride for the team standing beside her. As they closed in on the enemy's position, Sarah's heart raced with anticipation. The battle was far from over, but they had proven their strength time and time again. They would fight for their survival, for their fallen comrades, and for the future of humanity. "Let's show them what the Terran Empire is made of," Sarah said, her voice ringing with conviction. With that, they surged forward into the fray, ready to face the storm that awaited them. The fight for humanity's survival continued, and Sarah was determined to lead her crew to victory, no matter the cost. The dawn of a new era. The U.S. Valor emerged from the chaos of battle, the once unified enemy fleet now in disarray. Sarah Mitchell stood on the bridge, her heart racing as she surveyed the wreckage that had once posed a threat to humanity. They had struck hard and fast, proving to the galaxy that the Terran Empire would not be easily defeated. As the crew prepared to return to base, a sense of pride filled the air. They had fought valiantly and emerged victorious, but the sacrifices made weighed heavily on their minds. The memorial service for their fallen comrades would be held upon their return, and Sarah knew it would be an emotional moment for everyone. "Commander, we've received a transmission from Command," Tom said, breaking the silence that had settled on the bridge. "They want to congratulate us on our success and provide updates on the war efforts." "Put it through," Sarah replied, trying to suppress the anxiety bubbling within her. The higher-ups would undoubtedly have a lot to say after such a significant battle. The screen flickered to life, and an admiral appeared, looking both relieved and proud. "Commander Mitchell, on behalf of the Terran Empire, I commend you and your crew for your outstanding performance in the face of adversity. Your victory has resonated throughout the galaxy." "Thank you, Admiral. We did what we had to do to protect humanity," Sarah responded, her voice steady despite the emotional toll of the battle. "We've been monitoring the fallout from the engagement. The Galactic Council is shaken. They've started to reconsider their approach to dealing with the Terran Empire," the Admiral continued, a hint of satisfaction in his tone. "That's good to hear, sir, but we can't let our guard down. We know the enemy won't give up easily," Sarah replied, her mind racing with thoughts of potential retaliations. "Absolutely. Your victory has sent a clear message. Humanity will fight back. But we need to remain vigilant. Command will send reinforcements to your sector, and we'll keep you updated on any new developments," the Admiral assured her. "Understood, Admiral. We'll stay prepared," Sarah said, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. As the transmission ended, she turned to her crew, who were visibly relieved but still processing the events of the day. "We've made a significant impact today, but the fight is far from over. We must continue to stand together and remain strong." "Commander, we're picking up a distress signal from a nearby outpost," Tom interrupted, his eyes glued to the screen. "It's a Terran outpost under attack by remaining enemy forces. Set a course for the outpost immediately. We can't leave our people behind," Sarah commanded, her heart racing. As they altered their course, the crew sprang into action, ready to face whatever danger awaited them. The memories of the fallen weighed heavily on Sarah's heart, but she knew that they could not allow their sacrifices to be in vain. They had to protect their own. The U.S. Valor flew through the stars, navigating toward the source of the distress signal. The tension on the bridge was palpable, and Sarah felt a surge of determination rise within her. They had faced overwhelming odds before, and now they would rise to the challenge once more. As they arrived at the outpost, Sarah's heart sank at the sight of the chaos unfolding before her. The outpost was under heavy fire, and several enemy ships were launching assaults on their defenses. The Terran crew aboard the outpost was desperately trying to fend off the attackers, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. "Prepare to engage," Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We can't let them destroy our outpost. We need to provide cover for our people." The crew responded with quick efficiency, manning their stations and readying the weapons systems. Sarah felt a surge of pride as she saw her team working together, their resolve evident in their eyes. They were ready to protect their own, no matter the cost. "Target the enemy ships and fire on my mark," she instructed, her gaze fixed on the screen. As the U.S. Valor maneuvered into position, Sarah felt a mix of fear and determination. The lives of her fellow Terrans depended on her actions, and she wouldn't let them down. "Now, fire," she commanded, and the ship erupted with a barrage of fire, striking the enemy vessels with deadly precision. The first wave of fire disabled one of the attacking ships, and Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. "Keep firing. We need to cover the outpost's retreat." The crew responded, their focus unwavering as they fought against the remaining enemies. Sarah felt the weight of leadership settle on her shoulders, but she embraced it, knowing that they were fighting for their survival. As the battle raged on, the Terran crew at the outpost began to regroup, coordinating their defenses with the U.S. valor. Sarah could see the determination in their eyes, and it fueled her resolve. "Let's push them back," she shouted, rallying her crew. "We can't let them take this outpost." With a renewed sense of purpose, the U.S. valor advanced, engaging the enemy forces with fierce determination. They maneuvered through the chaos, striking with precision, and protecting the outpost at all costs. "Commander, the outpost has reported that they're ready for extraction," Tom shouted over the sounds of battle. "Let's cover their retreat. Keep the enemy focused on us," Sarah commanded, her heart racing as she prepared for the final push. As the Terran crew from the outpost began to evacuate, Sarah felt a surge of pride. They had come together, united in their fight for survival. She would protect her people, no matter what it took. With one last push, the U.S. valor engaged the enemy, firing with everything they had. The tide of the battle began to turn, and Sarah felt a renewed sense of hope. Prepare to engage in a final offensive. "Let's finish this," she shouted, rallying her crew once more. The U.S. valor surged forward, firing on all cylinders as they pushed the enemy back. The battlefield transformed into a whirlwind of fire and light, and Sarah felt the adrenaline coursing through her veins. As the last enemy ship fell silent, a triumphant cheer erupted from the bridge crew. They had won another battle, and Sarah felt a rush of pride for everyone who had fought alongside her. "We did it," Tom exclaimed, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Let's get our people to safety," Sarah said, her heart swelling with gratitude. "We've lost too many already. We can't afford to lose anyone else." As they regrouped with the outpost crew, Sarah felt the bonds of camaraderie strengthen. They were all Terrans, fighting together for their survival, and that unity would carry them through whatever challenges lay ahead. With the outposts secure and the threat neutralized, the U.S. valor set course for home. The journey back would be bittersweet, filled with memories of loss and victory. As they traveled through the stars, Sarah knew that they were on the brink of something greater. They had shown the galaxy that humanity would not back down, that they would fight for their place among the stars. The dawn of a new era was upon them, and Sarah Mitchell was determined to lead her crew into whatever challenges awaited them. The fight for survival continued, but together, they would face it all. The Terran Empire was strong, and they would not be forgotten.